Sylvie of the multiple award-winning The Queen Sylvie Show. You want to expand and get noticed? Then come outside your box and into our world. Internet advertising has a real impact on global awareness and even sales, so let's make an impact together. Offering for a limited time advertising and sponsorship packages that excel your purpose. So contact Queen Sylvie or Smooth Tim for the exciting opportunities that awaits. Yeah.
Are you tired of driving around a dirty car? Say hello to the ultimate solution for your car. Quick Auto Detail, home, work, or wherever. Their mobile car spa will clean and shine your car anytime and anywhere. Their products are gentle on your car's paint, and they use only the highest quality materials. Book your appointment now.
Hey kids, how would you like to hear this on the screen instead of the great show you came to see? That's what you sound like. Honest. Please cooperate and do your part in keeping this theater quiet so everyone, including you, can enjoy it. Remember, lots of adults and kids, too, paid admission to enjoy the show. We must insist on absolute quiet.
Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? It's time for the final countdown. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's rock.
Late last night that President Trump reportedly authorized the raid, which sent 25 highly trained military personnel into UPenn airspace, commanding them to, quote, show no mercy.
President Trump, of course, has said several times he would make it his personal mission to find and kill Dixon after he claimed responsibility for a student-led sit-in last semester. Jason, what do we know so far about the actual details of the raid? Yeah, it was a high-risk operation that was almost over before it started. We're hearing reports that one of the two Black Hawk helicopters used in this mission actually suffered mechanical failure upon campus entry and crashed into Quaker Kitchen Dining Hall, where
soldiers did encounter some resistance from several freshmen and at least one 19-year-old RA.
Right.
Now, from there, the remaining SEAL team members stormed the quad before breaching Stouffer College House, where inside their thermal cameras picked up a shirtless, groggy Dixon surrounded by dirty laundry, textbooks, and it was then that President Trump himself made that difficult, harrowing call to open fire, subsequently taking out the dangerous English major in his clandestine dormitory bunker.
As you can see, hundreds of Americans are now gathering around the country to celebrate and to thank President Trump for finally putting an end to this national nightmare. Jason, what happens to this group of student protesters now?
Yeah, well, only time will tell, Dwight, but despite today's successful operation, the university system in the region still remains extremely unstable, still believed to harbor some enclaves of free speech, so I wouldn't rule out a full-scale ground invasion of all college campuses in the near future.
All right, thank you.
There you got it. Full-scale ground invasion of all campuses around the United States. Prepare yourself, folks. Hey, welcome to another Wednesday wrap-up of wackiness from around the world and domestically. Hey, for you on Tim's Tidbits, I certainly appreciate you dropping on by. Hope I put a quick smile on your face before we get into the wackiness that's going on here domestically. And oh man, it's been quite the week. And as you know, we are now in going into day 30 of the government shutdown, which means there's all kinds of people going to be losing their benefits. There's a lot of government employees that are not getting paid. So it's interesting that they have found some contingency funds to continually to pay the military people who Trump has deployed into our cities that are in chaos. But in any regards, so are your lawmakers. Congress is still getting paid. In fact, why are they still getting paid? Article 1, Section 6 of our Constitution, when they wrote the Constitution up, they guaranteed themselves. It's called guaranteed compensation. No matter what, even in a shutdown, no matter what, if they are representing the people, if they are representatives in the Congress, House, Senate, they get paid. And then sometime later, they did another amendment, the 27th, which actually protects that article from having any change to it until the next election. So in the midst of elections, they can't change it. They have to wait until so that whatever party's in rule still gets majority. Wow, so gerrymandering even goes on when they was writing the Constitution. How interesting. But in any regards, we do know that there's all kinds of stuff going to be getting cut, and one of the big, huge ones is going to be some of these benefits to the children, the needy, the poor, and that is, inclusive of the SNAP benefits. And it's interesting that there are emergency funds available. And if you do, as I had noted just a little bit ago, that, they found funds so that the military is going to be continued to be getting paid. And there are funds, hidden funds, just like Grandpa and Grandma used to have, rainy day funds, whatever we want to call those, that sure, they could pull out and, make these SNAP payments to the needy. But let's listen to what President Obama has to say about it. And he'd know better than anybody. He helped develop the whole program.
Folks, I want you to just stop for a minute, stop what you're doing, because it's happening this Friday, November 1st. The checks stop, the lifeline gets cut. The Department of Agriculture, my old department just confirmed it, they are not going to use the contingency funds. They are choosing not to, and because of that choice, 42 million Americans are about to lose their food benefits. I'm not talking about a line item in a budget. I'm talking about the SNAP program, food stamps. I'm talking about 42 million people, our neighbors, our fellow citizens, children, veterans, older Americans who will go to the grocery store, swipe that card, and hear it declined. We are in the middle of a government shutdown. Yes, gridlock, dysfunction. We've seen it before. But this is different. This is an active choice by the current administration to let the benefits run out, to allow this cliff The panic that is setting in across this country right now, it's real. Food banks are bracing for a wave they know they cannot handle. And I have to ask, is this who we are? Is this the America you and I believe in? We have to be clear. A government shutdown is a failure, period. It's a failure of leadership. It's a failure of Congress to do its most basic job. But what we are seeing here, this snap cutoff, is not just a side effect. It is not an unavoidable accident. It is a decision. The reporting is clear. The Department of Agriculture has contingency funds. It has levers. It can pull. It has options. We built the system to have options for this exact reason, for emergencies, for moments when the people are at risk. And what is a government shutdown plunging 42 million people into hunger, if not an emergency? But Secretary Brooke Rollins, with the backing of the White House, has confirmed they will not tap those funds. Let that sink in. The administration is choosing to let this happen. They are choosing to use the hunger of children as political leverage. They are choosing to inflict the maximum possible pain on the most vulnerable people, hoping it will force the other side to blink.
Yep. So we already know they have emergency funds available. There's rainy day funds available. They've proven that with when they came out last week and said we're going to make sure our military gets paid. So there's rainy day funds, as President Obama had mentioned, that if they wanted to, yeah, they could supply those benefits out to the people. And the other thing they said I find most interesting is the one thing that I've never understood about Congress. They have one real job, and that is to pass a budget for the operation of our country. And how many years has it been since they've actually been able to accomplish that goal? That makes me question about how these people even think what they're doing in office. You can't do one simple task that you're assigned to do. Could you imagine having a job? You have one job, one thing to do, and you've been employed 8, 12 years and haven't been able to get it done yet. How long would you last? Any regards, moving on. We've talked before about Project 2025 in the past. We've showed some videos. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go to the YouTube site at the Queen Sylvie Show. You can catch up on some of the past episodes of Tim's Tidbits, and you'll see what I'm talking about when it comes to Project 2025 and their agenda of dismantling the government, basically. And we see that happening before us. And interestingly enough, a reporter, I'd like to share the video with you, asked AI to predict Trump's next move, since we seem to be right along the lines of, dismantling the government, taking away a lot of the benefits and supplies to the people, militarizing the government. What's going to be Trump's next move? And let's see what this AI model had to say about what is Trump going to possibly do next as far as adhering to the guidelines of Project 2025.
As we all know, Donald Trump had nothing to do with Project 2025, which must be why half of it's already in place after 10 months of his presidency. I mean, seriously, look at this. 48% done, and just to remind you, there are around 900 pages of that bullshit, and somehow half of it's already reality. Since May 2025, Trump has moved fast and hard to bring major pieces of Project 2025 to life. Let's be clear, this isn't quiet governing, it's a political wrecking ball. First, he went after the IRS. Backed by his allies in Congress, Trump signed the One Big Beautiful Bill in July, which wiped out nearly all the IRS enforcement funding from Biden's Inflation Reduction Act. Layoffs followed. Over 1,400 Treasury employees were let go in October alone, and thousands more were pushed out over the summer. Project 2025 calls for crippling agencies it deems weaponized, and this hit that goal head on. Then came the environmental cuts. In October, Trump approved the Ambler Mining Road in Alaska, a massive 200-mile industrial corridor into protected land.
It followed an earlier move to shutter the EPA's Office of Environmental Justice. 29 staffers were formally terminated in August after a summer-long dismantling. Project 2025 dismisses climate and equity programs as ideological excess. Trump treated them like dead weight. Immigration was another blitz. He ended temporary protected status for Honduras and Nicaragua, opened massive tent camps, federalized National Guard units to support ICE, and pushed new fees to deter asylum claims. That's ripped straight from Project 2025, which calls for an enforcement-only system and treats asylum as a loophole to shut down. Trump also escalated his push to control the federal workforce. 2 executive orders, in March and August, strip collective bargaining rights from most unionized federal employees. Together, they cover over 80% of the unionized civil service. The bigger Schedule F purge hasn't expanded since January, but the foundation is laid. Bottom line, since May, Trump's been hammering away at the Project 2025 playbook. The work is raw, aggressive, and often blunt, but it's not chaos. It's a methodical reshaping of the government to match the vision of the plan. It feels like it would be easier to list what Trump's done that isn't from the project, but still, why rush it so much? I mean, he's already done half of it in only 10 months. The simple answer is that they could lose the midterms, and he wouldn't have this kind of power anymore. But I just want to ask ChatGPT that question, because maybe there are other reasons. I mean, who knows? So let's see what it says. Trump isn't rushing because he has to. He's rushing because he wants to lock things in while he still can. He knows how Washington works. He saw how much resistance he got in his first term, not just from Democrats, but from judges, civil servants, even Republicans. This time, he's not wasting energy asking for permission. He's using speed as a strategy. By moving fast, he's overwhelming opposition. Courts can't keep up with the flood of executive orders. Agencies don't have time to organize internal pushback. Congress is largely under Republican control, and public attention is scattered. One headline disappears under the next. That chaos works in his favor. There's also the reality that 2026 midterms could flip the House or Senate. If that happens, it could slow him down. So he's front-loading everything he can do through executive power now. Immigration raids, agency purges, oil drilling, civil service changes, all while he holds the pen. Another big reason? He wants to make these changes irreversible. The deeper he roots his agenda into the system, firing people, changing rules, moving money, the harder it is for the next president to undo it. He's playing a long game disguised as a sprint. And honestly, it's about legacy. Project 2025 gives him a blueprint to be more than just the comeback guy. If he pulls it off, he won't just be a 2-term president. He'll be the one who reshaped how the federal government works from top to bottom. That's the mission, and he's not wasting a single month.
Yeah, not wasting a single month. As I think we tried to talk about for well over a year now in regards to the agenda that was going to be followed should he be elected into office. And you can see the red flags and the warning lights were 100% correct. So, hey, people, hang on to your hats. It's not over yet. And speaking of not over yet, we do know that Trump has decided to levy all kinds of tariffs against different countries, depending upon who you are, where you're at, and even the products that you and I need on a basis from products coming out of Brazil. Geez, I like my coffee in the morning. Now that's up, about 35% more for just a cup of coffee. And there's a lot of other things, goods that are coming from other countries that are just getting some unreasonable tariffs. Some of the tariffs are coming out of Canada. I think those are over steel and beef. But in any regards, the premier of Ontario, rather, not of Canada, but the premier of Ontario, right up above in the Toronto area, right? Mr. Ford, Doug Ford is his name, actually, Premier Ford of Ontario. He posted a little video that really got under the skin of our POTUS, and I'd like to share that with you. And that is one of our past presidents, Ronald Reagan, talking about the irreparable harm that can be done by leveling tariffs against your friendly nations. Check it on out.
You see, at first, when someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. What eventually occurs is, first, homegrown industries start relying on government protection in the form of high tariffs. They stop competing and stop making the innovative management and technological changes they need to succeed in world markets. And then, while all this is going on, something even worse occurs. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. The result is more and more tariffs, higher and higher trade barriers, and less competition. So soon, because of the prices made artificially high by tariffs that subsidize inefficiency and poor management, people stop buying. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. The memory of all this occurring back in the 30s made me determined when I came to Washington to spare the American people the protectionist legislation that destroys prosperity.
Yeah, and that seemed to really upset our POTUS because there's another Republican saying that tariffs aren't such a good idea. It's not such a smart idea. It's just going to drive up prices to where the consumers can't afford to buy squattily squat anymore. And I know it's kind of early for a what the fuck moment, right? But along with the tariffs and the price of things, I was looking last week. They had a little news release about the average cost of a new car now is $50,000. That just blows my mind. So your average cost for a brand new car, not your, I would say mid-size, $50,000, folks. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Imagine what that could have bought some years back, but everything is just going completely out of control. Speaking of out of control, also our crazy POTUS, this guy. He decided that he wanted to recover some of his expenses from when he was being investigated and sued for the various false accusations of, election fraud, to his inability to keep good records for his businesses, to where they found him guilty of tax evasion. So our convicted felon decided to recover some of those expenses. He would sue the DOJ for the unnecessary burden of him being investigated, and he wants $230 million to cover some of those expenses. And now the Democrats are saying, well, pump the brakes, Donnie. Exactly, what are your expenses? And maybe if you show us, maybe we could cover those expenses, maybe not. But, geez, funny that now you got a real avenue to recover those expenses because of who you put into certain jobs around
Top House Democrats
DC.
are opening an investigation into President Trump's demand for a payout from the Department of Justice. The president claims the DOJ owes him $230 million in damages stemming from the investigations he faced during the Biden administration and his first term in office. But Democrats call the arrangement illegal, pointing to the president's close allies now in position to approve the deal. And now they're requesting President Trump provide documents and information to the House. ABC's Christiane Cordero has more on this. Hi, Christiane. So what's the goal of this investigation?
Hey, Diane. So the goal is essentially twofold. One, get the president to backtrack and or get documents to kind of find a paper trail of sorts in the correspondence between the president and or his attorneys and the DOJ specifically. Now, in the letter opening this investigation, Representatives Jamie Raskin and Robert Garcia asked President Trump, or rather called his demands for this settlement blatantly illegal and an unconstitutional effort. They go on to say, as President Trump cannot accept and receive payments from the federal government or any states other than his salary, and that is something that even Republican-controlled Congress cannot waive. The committees, as I mentioned, right, they're calling on the president to reverse course. They're also demanding several documents, including those correspondence that I referenced with the DOJ, and that is a really important factor here because a lot of the pushback that the president has received in his demands for this settlement stems from the fact that the top two DOJ officials, that's Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy AG Todd Blanche, once served on the president's personal legal team. They are the ones who would effectively sign off on such settlement. They haven't individually commented publicly, but the DOJ sent us a statement earlier this week, Diane, saying that they will continue to follow ethics guidelines. Diane.
And would that be a conflict of interest? Should they say, you're right, we were trying to get you off in the first place, and yeah, we didn't, and you suffered some damages, and now we can compensate you for your damages because we're in a position to where we can. And we do understand that you said you were going to redirect any winnings to pay for the ballroom that nobody wants, that you've destroyed the West Wing, rather the East Wing. Yeah. Unbelievable, folks. Unbelievable. Why don't you just get on out of here? Thank you very much. Yeah. Anyhow, speaking of some interesting things, there's a new book that has come out. It's called Retribution, and you can pick it up on obviously all the major read sites, or you can pick it up at your local book stand. Anyhow, it dives a little bit into what happened, what transpired on January 6th, and more importantly, what it does is it takes a real hard look at some of the personal notes that Mike Pence wrote down during that day on January 6th. And let's listen to the author and a little bit of interview about this new book, Retribution.
President Trump is urging the Department of Justice to investigate the 2020 election with as much gusto as its probe into illegal gambling. On a social media post, he repeats baseless claims the election was rigged, saying, quote, "What's worse, the NBA players cheating at cards and probably much else, or the Democrats cheating on elections?" This comes as we're learning new details from the special counsel's investigation, suggesting President Trump understood he lost the 2020 election. It's just part of the new book, Retribution, Donald Trump and the Campaign That Changed America, by our chief Washington correspondent, John Karl. And John is here now to tell us more about it. John, first of all, congrats on the book. I know these are all a labor of love, and you always do such a great job on them. So the special counsel was planning to use, you say, a forensic copy of President Trump's phone in this investigation about the violence that unfolded on January 6th. What argument was he looking to make with that evidence?
So first of all, what I did in the book was to tell the story of Trump's return to the White House. Part of it was his battle against the special counsel. And after he won the election, the special counsel had to wrap up that investigation, knowing Jack Smith, that he was going to be fired as soon as Donald Trump came back, and that there was no way that this was going to go forward. There's no way to prosecute a sitting president. So I got some insight into what they were doing with their final reports. One part of the final report came out. The part on classified documents, was buried forever for history. In terms of the phone, you asked, this is fascinating. So they had a copy of Trump's phone. By the way, the image on Trump's phone, which I have seen, is Donald Trump. It's Trump himself looking back at Trump with a MAGA hat and giving a thumbs up. So every time Trump looked at his phone, he saw himself. Saw himself looking back, giving him a thumbs up. But what it did is they were able to look and see what he was doing while the attack on the Capitol was unfolding, who he was, how he was communicating, what he was checking, and they were able to demonstrate that Donald Trump was fully aware of what was happening, fully following the minute-by-minute events up on the Capitol.
You also obtained some of then Vice President Mike Pence's notes over the course of leading up to January 6th. And you say in their last conversation, Trump actually called Pence a wimp?
Yeah, well, what he said to him, and these are the extemporaneous notes that Pence took, and by the way, it's fascinating to look at them, and never before seen. So the January 6th committee never got this. It's never been made public. Here you're going to see him on the screen. It's on his day timer. So it's on the calendar that he had on his desk, January 6th, it says at the top. And it said, one of the things says, I made a big mistake 5 years ago. In other words, when he chose Pence as his running mate, he says, you will go down as a wimp if you don't help me overturn the election. And there's one part of the notes where it looks like Pence has actually drawn a mad face emoji or a sad face emoji. It's the circle part. Look at that. And that's where he quotes Trump as saying, you listen to the wrong people. And Pence writes that he says back, I listen to my heart and my mind. Just a fascinating insight into one of the most consequential moments in recent history, the morning of January 6th.
And he's taking those notes having no idea what's about to happen.
No idea that he is about to go up to the Capitol, preside over the certification of the election, and that a mob is going to invade the Capitol and literally chant, hang Mike Pence, call for his execution. So no, but that would happen 2 hours after he wrote those notes.
The book is called Retribution. What made you settle on this title?
Because when Donald Trump launched his campaign in one of his first speeches, it was before CPAC in Washington, he said that in 2016, I said, I am your voice. Now I tell you, I am your retribution. And I think the whole focus of his campaign was largely, I am going to win, I'm going to prove all my critics wrong, and I'm going to get even with my enemies. And that's, by the way, very much what we've seen happen since he's gotten back to the
Right. I would say, yeah, retribution is pretty much what's happening. Yeah, a lot of people going under. We've seen, the FBI director, former FBI director now being subpoenaed, attorneys, New York attorney being subpoenaed. So who's weaponizing the justice system? I don't know. I'm confused. Enlighten me here. Anyhow, speaking of enlightenment, is the company that is demolishing the East Wing. They apparently are getting a little bit more than money for the contract of demolishing, and I don't know if they're getting the whole reconstruction of the East Wing, but at least the company that's doing the demolishing is getting a little bit more than maybe they bargained for by going for the government contract. Check it out.
The White House on defense today over President Trump's decision to tear down the East Wing to make room for a 90,000 square foot ballroom. But the backlash is also being felt by the construction team doing the job. Allison Hall explains.
There's more outrage today as the full scale of the East Wing demolition is revealed. Most of the building appears to have been ripped away.
The East Wing, as we knew it, is gone.
The construction company carrying out the demolition, ACECO, is also facing backlash. Their Google listing is being flooded with negative one-star reviews. And today, White House historians are appealing to President Trump to stop. We are deeply concerned that the height of the proposed new construction will overwhelm the White House and may also permanently disrupt the carefully balanced classical design of the White House with its two smaller and lower wings, declares the National Trust for Historic Preservation. The White House is 55,000 square feet and the new ballroom is almost twice that size. This animation shows how the new structure will dwarf the White House.
When you go to the White House, your attention is immediately going to be drawn and distracted away from the White House to this gigantic new ballroom. It's going to totally overshadow everything.
The Trump administration is brushing off concerns.
I believe there's a lot of fake outrage right now because nearly every single president who has lived in this beautiful White House behind me has made modernizations and renovations of their own.
Meanwhile, the late night comics are having a field day.
That is so deeply unsettling. That is it. We are not giving him the security deposit back.
During the renovations, historic artifacts from the East Wing are being preserved and stored under the supervision of the White House Historical Association and the National Parks.
So there you go. I think, and yeah, they probably didn't even think about, boy, you know, how much shit we're going to get from people out there and everywhere for, you know, our hand in demolishing the White House. So yeah, you knew that was not going to work out so well. But yeah, you know, hindsight's 20/20. So good luck to this demolition team. It obviously has now a 1-star rating. See how they do on their next job. And yeah, craziness is widespread, we know, and it's going all over the country. And a lot of it has to do with just the temperament of society. You know, we're almost anti-everything. And when it comes to, you know, anti-immigration, don't want any immigrants, we're anti-Semitic, we're anti-black, we're anti-Chicano, we're anti-everything. To the point to where now I think I showed about, it might be 2-3 months back, talked a little bit about a community that was down in Georgia, a whites-only community, and it seems that, geez, the fad may be spreading, folks, and here we go, another whites-only moment.
No Nazis, no KKK, no fascists, USA! We were there last year as anti-fascist protesters raised their voices in opposition to the annual gathering of white nationalists at Montgomery Bell State Park. The American Renaissance Conference is scheduled to return to the park in mid-November.
We have a community for white Americans who value their European ancestry.
Among the speakers is a far-right figure who's recently made headlines around the globe with his plan to create a whites-only community in northeastern Arkansas.
Of course, we're concerned about the ability of white Americans to have their own communities in the future, and I think this is a discussion that needs to happen.
Eric Orwell told me he wants to test federal fair housing laws, which is why he created a group called Return to the Land as a private membership association, in other words, a private club, with plans to create other whites-only communities.
Right now, there are a few hot spots that we're honing in on: Idaho, Tennessee, the Ozarks.
You say Tennessee?
Yeah, that's one of those hot spots.
And where in Tennessee are you looking at?
A few different locations: eastern Tennessee, central Tennessee. So I'm not going to give away specific zip codes or anything.
His website shows a map that includes the eastern part of Middle Tennessee and East Tennessee that make up Appalachia, which would include Jackson County, where Christian nationalists are also hoping to establish their own community, giving some of the same reasons Orwell gives for choosing the region.
But Appalachia in general has a lot of founding stock Americans who are very rooted to the land here, you know? People who came over more recently might not have that very deep sense of white American identity.
We have to look for ways where we can securely have our own territory that is actually ours.
Presenting himself as a thoughtful person, Eric Orwell chooses his words carefully when describing his personal beliefs.
How do you describe yourself? Are you a white supremacist, white nationalist, neo-Nazi, any of the above?
None of the above. I'm a white identitarian. I think that ethnic identity, racial and ethnic identity, is a big part of who you are.
While portraying himself as someone mainly interested in preserving white heritage, Orwell has developed a close relationship with the white nationalist Patriot Front, which wants to turn the U.S. into an ethno-state for whites only.
What is your relationship with the Patriot Front?
I believe that they are good faith actors. I think their ambitions for seeing political change are noble, even if I don't completely agree with their strategy or perhaps ultimate objective.
But photos posted by Patriot Front show Orwell was one of the speakers recently at the group's first national conference alongside neo-Nazi Robert Rundo. This is Rundo attacking a counter-protester at a Trump rally in 2017. And here at the Patriot Front conference, that's Rundo on the left. To the right is Orwell giving the fist over heart salute.
Life, liberty, victory!
The official salute of Patriot Front.
You had a post on X on September 15th that said folks are willing to call for violence but unwilling to join one of the few groups on our side that know how to organize and deploy men. Who is that group that you were referring to?
I was indirectly referring to Patriot Front.
As our News Channel 5 investigation has revealed, Patriot Front has built a compound in East Tennessee where it trains men to fight, although it claims it's just a way for them to develop themselves personally.
Patriot Front does a lot of training for hand-to-hand combat. Do you think they're in a position, want to even prepare for battle for civil war?
Well, I'm not against preparing for civil war because it may happen, not of our choosing.
Orwell has argued that this iconic photo of U.S. Marshals escorting 6-year-old Ruby Bridges as she integrated a Louisiana school represents what he calls the immorality of forced integration.
And what they did was they chose one social model and said, you're all going to live this way. And it just wasn't really a democratic process.
Meaning the white people didn't get their way?
Yeah, the Democratic majority, if they don't get their way, that's undemocratic.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. And there you go. Model community that you just love your children to grow up in. What we live in, folks, what we live in. And, you know, I'd like to see mass start a black-only community, a Latino-only community, and Asian-only community, see how that plays out, see what they'd say. Yeah. Let's jump across the pond anyhow, see what's going on over in Ukraine and Russia, and how we do know that the peace deal, ceasefire deal, that ain't happening. And the only thing that is happening over there, though, and I wanted to share with you, is now Putin decided he wanted to show everybody his newest weapon that he could utilize against Ukraine and or anybody else for that matter, because the invisible rocket that Russia now has all kinds of capabilities. Check it on out.
Russian President Vladimir Putin announced on Sunday that the Kremlin had successfully tested a new invincible nuclear-capable and powered cruise missile with an alleged unlimited range. Putin touted the test of the supposed doomsday weapon known in Russia as the Burevestnik missile, claiming it was invincible and capable of bypassing all current and future missile defense systems. In a video released by the Kremlin, Putin, dressed in military fatigues, instructed his country's top generals to start preparing the missile for potential use.
Речь идет о испытании крылатой ракеты неограниченной дальности «Буревестник» с ядерной энергетической установкой. Знаю, что у меня есть доклад и со стороны промышленности, в целом известные оценки Министерства обороны. Это все-таки уникальное изделие, которого в мире ни у кого нет.
According to Putin's chief of the general staff of Russia's armed forces, Valery Gerasimov, the latest test of the missile flew in the air for 15 hours and covered a distance of about 8,700 miles, easily capable of reaching New York City or Washington, D.C. Little is actually known about the missile, which some have dubbed Flying Chernobyl. According to a 2019 report from the Nuclear Threat Initiative, the subsonic cruise missile is designed to be powered internally by a miniature nuclear power plant, enabling it to fly farther and for longer at a speed less than the speed of sound. The Burevestnik, which in English translates to announcer of the storm, could conceptually stay in the air between 24 and 48 hours. If it were to be tactically launched, the missile would carry a nuclear warhead and circle the Earth at a low altitude to avoid missile defense systems. According to the International Institute for Strategic Studies, a Russian military journal suggested the missile could fly as far as 12,000 miles and would hover at an altitude between 160 and 300 feet throughout its flight to evade air defenses. Yes. Putin's special envoy said the Trump administration had been made aware of the successful missile test. While flying on Air Force One to Japan, President Trump issued a chilling warning to Putin in response to the missile test, while repeatedly demanding the Russian tyrant end the war in Ukraine.
They know we have a nuclear submarine, the greatest in the world, right off their shores. So, I mean, doesn't have to go 8,000 miles, and they're not playing games with us. We're not playing games with them either.
Putin has previously declared that the Kremlin is free to use doomsday weapons against any nation, propped up by a nuclear power, a clear threat against NATO and the U.S. over their support of Ukraine.
It only escalates as they're supposedly talking peace. So, hey. Anyhow, some of the craziness across the pond. I told you it was going to be a wacky Wednesday wrap-up. And anyhow, hey, we're almost getting toward the end. And speaking of a wacky Wednesday wrap-up, something I did come across is obviously in today's society and with the availabilities of, your mobile devices to be able to record, there's sex tapes all over the place, from Pam and Tommy's famous sex tape to all kinds of, juveniles getting sextorted because of a sex tape. But anyhow, the last place you would ever think that a sex tape would get made and or produced would be in a juvenile prison holding facility, wouldn't you? Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe there should be a what the fuck moment, but I had to share this one with you anyhow, folks. Check this out.
A young couple in a private locked room recording an intimate moment. In this day and age, it may not be that uncommon.
I've never been in love like this.
What's extraordinary about this tape? Where it's happening and who these people are. They're locked away in a linen closet at Washington's maximum security juvenile detention center. The Green Hill School in Chehalis houses males up to the age of 25 convicted of violent crimes. 22-year-old Robert Thompson is an inmate. Emily Baker is the Green Hill security officer on duty for the night shift. Equally jolting as a sex tape behind bars is the incredible lack of security that allowed it to happen. Records obtained by King 5 show at 4:55 in the morning, during strict lockdown hours, another security officer unlocked Thompson's cell under the pretense that Baker needed the inmate to tidy up the linen closet.
It hurts to be looked at as a killer and a person without sorrow.
As King 5 reported in 2022, Thompson is serving 40 years for the murders of Puyallup shopkeeper Soon Ja Nam and Thompson's accomplice, who he feared would turn him into police. Despite that violent history, records show Thompson spent 18 minutes locked away in the linen closet, alone with Baker, before this happened. A knock at the door that's followed a minute later by a phone call.
Everybody in there's going to talk. No matter how much you think people keep secrets, they don't.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
In all honesty, Emily, it made me feel very uncomfortable.
I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to do that.
It's unclear who the man is that's scolding Baker on the phone, but he may be the same employee who unlocked Thompson's cell door.
Probably is. He just didn't want to get his ass jammed up in what all her disgusting motivation was, but wow. Genius is born every minute, aren't there, folks? And sometimes we put them in the White House. But in any regards, hey, let's run to a quick commercial I want to show to you, and then we'll jump right back to the end of the show. And we'll have our What the Fuck's an Asshole Award, and we'll be right back. Check it on out.
Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send eats, the homeless tempest tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. That's the promise America was built on. A nation forged by immigrants, strengthened by diversity, and proud of the idea that anyone, no matter where they came from, could find opportunity, freedom, and a place to call home. But somewhere along the way, we forgot who we are. America, you were founded on purity. You were never meant to be a closed-off empire hoarding wealth and the opportunity for a select few. The very people screaming about protecting real Americans seem to have forgotten that their ancestors were once outsiders, the unwanted standing at the door, hoping for a chance. But now we turn our backs. We talk about immigrants like they're criminals, like they're a burden, like they don't belong. We forgot that every wave of immigration, from Irish to Italians to the Chinese, was met with the same fear, the same hate, the same tired rhetoric about how they destroy America. And yet every single time those immigrants help build this country, immigrants don't take away from America, they invest in it. They pay taxes and Social Security without ever seeing the benefits of those. They start businesses, they bring innovation and culture and life. America isn't great in spite of immigrants, it's great because of immigrants. But now we're losing ourselves. We're caught up in fear and division. We're turning our backs on the very thing that made us stronger. We build walls instead of bridges. We're separating families instead of welcoming them. We buy into the idea that America's a fortress instead of a beacon. But here's the thing, America isn't lost yet. We can still remember who we are. We can still be the nation that lifts its lamp beside the golden door. We just have to choose it. We have to drown out the fear, reject the hate, and embrace the truth. That America is, and always has been, a nation of immigrants. And if we forget that, then we forget what it truly means to be American.
Don't ever forget what it means to be an American. I follow my family legacy. Obviously, like a whole ton of people, and probably about 10%, maybe 15% of the nation. Yeah, I have relatives all the way back to the Mayflower. I have relatives that fought in the Civil War, in the Revolutionary War. Yeah, had family members that had even died in all of those wars. But in any regards, yes, we are a nation of immigrants. And with an Irish background, with an English background, with a German background, yeah, I have all that in my blood. And do you think that they came over and they were not met with a little bit of resistance? Obviously. Did they make our country better? Hell yeah, and they fought for it. So, yeah, don't shut out the people that can improve your life. You never know. Let's move on real quick to one of the parts of the show that I like to share with people, rather, is our what the fuck moment. And what would you think if you were in California? You'd probably enjoy it. But if you were in California, you were driving up and down the I-5, which is the coastal highway in California, and all of a sudden you came across war games? Well, that's what happened last week, and check this out. War games across the interstate while people are driving up and down the interstate. This is insane.
How did the Marines prepare for Saturday's event? Who okayed artillery fire over the freeway? And who decided Interstate 5 could remain open while live high-explosive rounds whizzed overhead? These are the questions outlined in a letter to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth this week.
Never in my wildest imagination did I expect that they would fire over the freeway, particularly on a Saturday, which is, an extremely busy day for the I-5.
Representative Mike Levin's district includes Camp Pendleton. He says Marines follow orders.
It appears the administration heard safety warnings from the Marine Corps and completely ignored them.
The authors point to a California Highway Patrol report that one of those artillery rounds exploded prematurely over a closed I-5 and struck two of their vehicles.
Clearly, the Marine in charge of our sector for the CHP, he's a retired Marine, clearly made the right call, to close the freeway down on Saturday, as evidenced by what happened to that patrol car.
The Marines regularly fire artillery east of I-5 at Camp Pendleton, but base guidelines show no authorized areas west of the 5. Marine officials haven't answered questions about whether they've ever shot artillery over the 5. After the event, Hegseth visited the Top Gun School at Naval Air Station Fallon, Nevada. Defense Department video shows him riding in the back seat of an FA-18 Super Hornet as it maneuvers over the desert. Levin says the video sends the wrong message to troops.
No leader should be using the military for personal vanity, for spectacle.
A spokesperson for Hegseth declined to comment and says all questions should be directed toward the Marines at Camp Pendleton. A Trump administration spokesperson also declined to comment. Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
Wait. So everybody's blaming everybody else. The military says, well, we warned him. And Hank Seth, the former news anchor, said that, well, it's their fault. And he had a nice little photo op. I see he made up himself up there spinning around in the F-18 and wasting taxpayer dollars. And what kind of an insane idiot, would think it'd be okay to fire live rounds over top a working interstate, over top of people's homes. And anyhow, that sparked off what is going to happen next moment, and that is, look what happened to this poor dog who obviously was suffering through PTSD from having all this stuff go on around him. Check it on out.
What are you doing? Stop it! Stop! You're gonna hurt someone! Matt! No! That's enough! Give it to me! Matt!
See? Stressed that dog out so bad, went in and grabbed their law's rocket and started shooting off the neighbors, trying to defend the home. That's what dogs do, though. Anyhow, hey, let's move on. And this is going to be who gets this week's Asshole Award, Asshole Merit Badge. And I think I shared this gentleman with you. We'll call him a gentleman if I can. And he is a sheriff out of the Atlanta area down in Georgia. And he had a confrontation with another officer because apparently there was a shooting. An officer involved in a shooting. One of his officers apparently got shot in the leg. And so the responding officer, it was in his district, inadvertently picked up the gun and I think put it in his holster or whatever, and then moved it into another safe position once he realized what he had. And the sheriff of the county, who really had he did have jurisdiction, but he didn't have jurisdiction because the local officer, the local agency was handling the particular situation. But he decided to go absolutely bonker crazy, and let's see what happened when the governor, actually, of Georgia said this guy needs to be suspended. His actions were completely inappropriate. And so, again, let me share the same gentleman again with you a few months later, who is now a suspended sheriff pending an investigation over his conduct for this week's Asshole Merit Badge. Enjoy.
You should know better than that, buddy.
Really?
Are you not trained better than that?
Let me get a pair of gloves. Get away from me. Get it. Hey,
You
don't
get
touch
that.
me. Hey,
Listen
don't
to me.
touch me.
You listen.
Don't touch me.
Shut up. You
What are you doing?
mother.
What are you doing?
You're the one
What
that
are you
shot
doing?
me.
What are you doing?
You stupid son of a.
Sheriff.
Why did you pull a gun out for? You stupid. You stupid son of a. Sheriff, stop.
Sheriff. What are you doing, Sheriff?
Please, Sheriff. You somebody get a. You listen.
Don't touch me.
Shut up. You
What are you doing?
Right down there.
You do understand this is all on camera.
Son of a.
Sheriff.
You're the one that's going crazy.
We got a shot deputy, Sheriff.
Yes, we do.
This is not the time and place.
You want arrested?
Go ahead.
All right, you're going to get arrested.
Go ahead,
Turn
Sheriff.
around, put your hands behind your back. You're arrested. I arrested you.
All right, come on.
Turn
let's go.
around, put your
All right, come
hands
on.
up here.
Wow. So there you go. Yeah. A well-deserved Asshole Award. Well, I don't know. Why would he lay hands on because he believed, the guy may have made an error in judgment by picking up the other deputy's gun that had been shot. And, I mean, I don't know, where the sheriff thought he had the authority, and especially with the profanity and the aggressive way that he behaved, grabbed and pushed on that officer. He's lucky he didn't get himself in even more trouble. Anyhow, hey, it just goes to show you, folks, be very, very careful out there. You never know who you're going to come across and what their attitude may be. So keep yourself in check, too. Keep yourself safe. And speaking of that, I hope you do keep yourself safe going into this weekend. You enjoy while we still have some good weather to enjoy. Get out there and enjoy a little bit of this fall weather. And otherwise, until next week, I am out of here, folks. Do enjoy, and I'll holla. Bye-bye.
Hello, my fellow Americans. It's good to see you again. As you may have heard, I am dead. Dead as a doornail, but that hasn't stopped me from crawling up Donald Trump's ass like a heat-seeking cockroach and laying a few eggs. And with the price of eggs these days, you better get them while they're hot. Now, I know you all are feeling a little down right now because you have a president who is a total moron, and I get it. I really do. You know, when I left office, I worried about the deficit, the Soviets, and my hair holding up in humidity. I never dreamed I'd be watching a fella bulldoze the White House to build a fucking ballroom. What a jackass. Now, I'll admit, I loved a good shindig, but I never thought the People's House would need a disco ball the size of freaking Delaware. He's given $40 billion to Argentina, but if you break your leg in Iowa, you better hope you've got a GoFundMe, whatever the fuck that is, and a spare kidney to put up at auction. That's not trickle down, folks. That's piss on me and tell me it's raining. But then again, the current bozo would probably like that shit, right? All that nasty golden shower business. What a disgusting prick. And what about these jackboot scumbuckets rounding up citizens without due process? Well, I spent my life warning you all about tyranny, not hiring it as America's dipshit mall cops. And don't get me started on the crypto schemes, the super PAC Ponzi parties, and the little hobby of blowing up innocent fishermen. You'd think this all was a joke if it weren't your tax dollars paying for this goddamn clusterfuck, you feel me? Now, I know I wasn't the greatest president. In fact, I was pretty damn awful. What with Iran-Contra, gutting unions, turning the mentally ill out onto the streets, juicing up the Cold War, and so much more. But at least I wasn't a spray-tanned, labia-necked, flag-humping golf cart Mussolini with a vocabulary smaller than Nancy's one and only G-spot. I may have had jelly beans on my desk, but at least I didn't have Adderall in my golf cart. So yeah, I was no saint, but I knew the difference between a presidency and a reality show, and by God, I didn't charge admission. So in conclusion, fuck Trump, fuck ICE, fuck Kristi Noem, fuck Stephen Miller, J.D. Vance, Caroline Leavitt, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Tom Homan, and all the rest of them sycophantic, blood-sucking turds. And be sure to tune in today at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for Scared Ketchup's new music video, Frogs Together.
To make time to protest ICE, but it's something we all need to do. There's one thing that you can wear with built-in conditioned air. It's armor that's inflatable too. I've had enough of the cruelty of ICE deportation. Enough of their masks and their intoleration. Frogs together strong, where the rebels spawn. Frogs together strong, from dusk till dawn. They can shoot that damn pepper spray right in my fan. We're slippery loud, afraid of no man. Frogs together strong. Sing it loud, sing it long. tongues, we came with bubbles. They came with cups, we came with cuddles. We don't croak for kings, we don't hop for crowns. We hop for the dreamers they tried to drown. So if you feel the slime beneath your feet, that's solidarity, baby. Ain't it sweet? Who jumps the line? We all do. Who saves the pond? Me and you. What's the sound of freedom? Strong. From together strong. Frogs together strong. We're the rebel spawn. Frogs together strong. From dusk till dawn. They can drain the swamp, but they can't drain our soul. We're slippery, loud, and on parole. Frogs together strong. Sing it loud, sing it long. We're talking truth, the power is wrong. I'm still wearing nothing but a thong. Frogs together strong. Frogs together strong. Frogs together strong. I've had enough.